Hi, good evening, and welcome to my daily live sessions on various tools and methods from my toolkit for execution excellence. My name is Dinakar. I'm the founder of Samutana and inventor of doHow, a methodology for driving teams to achieve challenging goals and realize amazing outcomes while acquiring leadership skills by changing their mindset and culture and acquiring management skills by continuously improving in the learning groups which have been presenting during the last couple of weeks. So that's a very brief introduction. And then in the meantime, in case you want to know more about what we do, please do visit dinakarmurthy.com or write an email to me. My email is dinakar@samutana.com. And before I get into the topic of the day, I want to invite you to participate in the public doHow sessions, which I want to start from this Sunday onwards, 11:30 in the morning it is. So you can use the link, which will keep going in this video at the bottom. So you can click on that, and also it's given in the description, and then you can join me to participate in a different learning experience for honing and sharpening your leadership and management skills. So, with that very brief introduction, let me directly jump into the topic. I've been talking about the various learning cycles, continual learning cycles, which would be the product cycle, the people cycle, the process cycle, and today, this week, is the performance cycle, which I've been discussing. And before I really get into that, let me directly get into the control loop. See, this is something which is fundamental in any kind of smart activity, any kind of this is all about management, not about leadership. Leadership is all about inspiring people. Management is all about making or getting things done the most efficient way. The most efficient way would be when one has understood the control loop. What is the control loop? Control loop consists of an algorithm or a plan, and based on the algorithm, some actuation is done, which is the do phase of the control loop. And then after the actuation is done in the environment, it is sensed as to what changed actually, and based on whatever that changed, find out the gap between the actuation and what was intended and what actually happened, and then give a correction or correct the algorithm or correct the actuation so that the intended outcome is realized. That's the fundamental control loop where you got algorithm, actuate, sense, and correct, which is analogical and similar to the PDCA cycle, plan, do, check, act cycle, which also is known as the Deming cycle, which actually was introduced by Stewart and later popularized by Deming. So it also is called as a Stewart cycle, but not that common. Since Deming popularized it, it is more known as the Deming cycle. It's a continuous learning loop where you plan something, do, which is actuate, and then check, sense, and act to correct it. So that's the fundamental essence of management. You need to really be looking at these four phases. Whenever we are doing anything, always keep in mind that these four phases are extremely important. Based on these four phases of continual learning, I went on to talk about multiple cycles in any company. For example, there could be a product cycle, which is the foundation of any company, any business, because you have a product which you manufacture. Then the process cycle, how do you make sure that the process for that product is robust? Because that is the key area. Unless that is robust and it is stable and capable, there is no point in going beyond that, and that is the core, and that has to be made sure that it is stable and it is consistent. And then you get into the people cycle, after the performance cycle, productivity, programming, and progression cycle. This week I've been talking about the performance cycle. I spoke about product, process, and people cycles in the last 3 weeks. What is the performance cycle? It's about getting the entire organization to perform with some kind of a rhythm, something like a clock. And for that to be done, we start with the organization structure and roles as the first activity, which is the plan phase or the algorithm phase, where the overall logic between the cause and effect is defined, and that is the first activity. And once that is done, yesterday I spoke about the actuation phase or the doing phase, where the key result areas are cascaded, deployed, and then goal setting is done. On the job supervision is done so that and guidance is given for people to perform. And finally, what I call as the doHow one-on-one consultant coaching for making sure that entire idea of a hierarchy, which is what you normally have in an organization, gets trickle down to the last person in the hierarchy in a cascaded manner, cascaded across the hierarchy. That is the concept of one-on-one consultant coaching, which is again an app created by me. And today I'll be talking about the check or the sensing phase of the performance cycle. So when you are checking or sensing, you're basically trying to get some reporting done, get some data captured, and you are trying to understand where do you stand. In fact, today I was talking to one of the startups where they've got a mechanism or they've got a solution for tracking the machine data automatically, which is something similar to other companies also in the country who are doing that. Quite a few people have been doing that for almost now 10, 15 years. And that is called as IoT. That really is not IoT in my opinion. It can be IoT because you connected the data to the internet, but the real smartness comes in when from that data some kind of a correction is done automatically, and that's where artificial intelligence comes into picture, and that's where the entire magic happens, where the management becomes much more effective. Management is about making sure that whatever job you're doing it the best possible way. Now, here in this performance cycle and the progress reporting phase of the performance cycle, I've got 5 areas which I want to talk about. The first one is IPCDRTSM, digital data capture. Now, that sounds quite an interesting thing. This is basically simple. I stands for improvements or innovations. P for productivity, which is talking about how better are we utilizing the resources year on year or month on month or week on week. Then Q stands for quality. C stands for cost. It could be inventory, it could be consumables, it could be the consumption rate of the tooling, etc. D stands for delivery. How good are we in a position to deliver on time in full? Then R is the response times. Let us say the customer has asked something, how quick are we able to respond to the customer requirements, customer queries? Then T stands for the time. This is very interesting, right? When you look at the supply chains, whether it is in service industry or in product industry, the lead time, touch time, replenishment time, these are all key metrics which need to be monitored on a regular basis, which hardly are done. Imagine today we have got an ERP which is extremely powerful, where one could be dynamically changing the lead time based on the actual lead time in the shop floor, which is not done at all. So that is one area which one needs to talk about, where the data needs to be captured digitally. Then T stands for timelines. It could be the commitment versus delivery. It could be an action which is defined, a timeline. How are the timelines being monitored? S for safety, which is the safety of the entire workforce, safety of the people who are working in the particular factory or in service industry. M for the employee morale. Employee morale would talk about motivation, morale. That is the aim. So innovation, improvement, productivity, cost, productivity, quality, cost, delivery, then response, timelines, safety, and finally employee morale or motivation. So one needs to capture all this data digitally. How do you do that? That's a very interesting topic. Typically in manufacturing, in the conventional companies, even in the very, very advanced world-class manufacturing companies, most of this data is captured in paper form. In the sense, you either have a logbook or there are some charts pinned to the pin boards where people are entering the data, and that is how the entire daily works management is done. Ideally, if that could be captured in a digital form, which is what we do using low-code platforms. I've got multiple applications with low-code platforms where this data is captured digitally. So that is a check phase of the performance cycle, which is what is the next topic, which is doHow driver metric reporting. Now again, when you are reporting something, one is you could report the end outcome. That is good, nice to have. But then if you have to really act on something, it's important to understand the driver metric. A very simple thing is if it is sales, the driver metric is how many cold calls did the person do, how many prospecting calls did the person do in a day. That is a very, very simple driver metric for the sales to happen. Or for example, for the OEE to improve, overall equipment effectiveness to improve, how many components did you set, how many times did you do the setup after ensuring the full kit before the setup is done. So that's again a driver metric to check about the full kitting of the entire setting before the setting starts. Full kitting means you're talking about documents, talking about materials, tools, gauges, then maybe instructions, decisions, whatever that is necessary for that particular component to be processed. Order, of course. So whether that full kit was available or not. can that be reported continuously? To say that, look, tomorrow I need to do 10 setups, and for these 10 setups, how do I have the full kit ready for 2 o'clock setup? Is it ready by 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or is it ready at 10 o'clock? That's something which is the next driver metric reporting as far as the OEE is concerned. As far as the delivery is concerned, the driver metric reporting would mean the just-in-time arrival of components, full kit of the entire component to be entire set of kit or the sets to be assembled would be another driver metric. Then you come to the business intelligence and analytics. This is something which is interesting because today I was talking to another gentleman in the afternoon. He was telling that the age-old way of doing problem solving is gone now. No, it's all big data. So you need to have analytics with big data where the business intelligence can be derived. And like this again needs a lot of expertise in terms of understanding the data. Data science is something which is very, very important here. And also to extract that particular data into information, which means one needs to have a very good clarity on what is called the KPI tree. That means if you have got the sales revenue as the main topic, and from there, how do you drill down to a particular driver metric and visualize that? And that's the key. Earlier in the day when I was conducting a short demo of the doHow game, one of the videos which came up there, doHow gives contextual hints. Contextual hints could be a text, or it could be a sound, it could be an image, it could be a video. The video was about what was the secret of Einstein, and it was quite interesting. I also watched that video for the first time. The secret of Einstein, I believe, was that he would always visualize any problem. And once the problem could be visualized, then he could find a solution. That's something interesting. Therefore, the business intelligence and analytics is extremely important to be able to visualize the graphs. I always say that the analytics should be done in such a way that one, just by seeing the graph, we possibly have only a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds to really understand what the graph is. Our brain is very, very fast. And once the graph is seen, we should be naturally able to understand where the next question should be. That means the graph should have Pareto. Instead of simply plotting bar charts or column charts, one needs to have Pareto there, which can be integrated in that simply. So that's the next one. Then after that comes the next, which is the real-time dashboards and cockpit charts, which are again, it's an art. It's not something which is easy, though it's very, very sounds simple to really do something in Excel. To really get the right ones to talk about there is quite challenging, and that's something which needs to be done. Again, here, there are a lot of solutions available. It can be done smartly. There's a lot of smart automation possible here. And finally, the ERP Insights plugins. This is something which I am talking about as a vision. It is more a desire for me rather than the actual existence in the market. Let us say the ERP has got a lot of data, and all this data is being monitored. Now, can we use that data to derive some meaningful insights out of that? I'll just give you one example. See, when I was in heading one of the business units, we had a very critical problem of not being able to supply to the customer because we could not make the invoices since the backflushing could not be done. Why could the backflushing not be done? And I'm using some technical terms for those of you in ERP, you can understand this. Why the backflushing could not be done? Because the component which entered the factory was not still reported. That means the GRN was not done. It was not reported in the stores. Intake was not there. Stores issue was not done. But physically the component had already been assembled. Because of the urgency, everybody took the component and assembled it. And everybody had the intention which was very, very noble because they wanted to serve the customer. Customer was waiting, so they assembled the product. But we could not invoice, therefore the product could not leave the factory. And then one of our guys came up with a brilliant idea and he did what is called a soft bill. I don't know whether, again, for technical guys you can understand this. A soft bill is created when an order is generated, so that that soft bill of material is called a soft BOM. And in the soft BOM, this gentleman took out those items where the backflushing could not be done. That means if the product cost was 100 and that had about 10 components, he took out 3 components in the soft bill because soft BOM. There is a hard BOM which is coded in the master data. Then the soft BOM gets generated every time an order gets created so that the order has the link to the BOM. And in that BOM, he removed 3 items so that these 3 items were not available to be backflushed. So he removed that. Therefore, when the backflushing happened, only 7 items got backflushed and the material was delivered. And we came to know that much later when we tried to find out what was the actual cost and the planned cost. And there was a variance. The variance was really huge because 3 items were taken out. And what I'm trying to say is, if such a thing happens, is it possible to have some kind of a plugin which could trigger such what should I say, discrepancies or such deviations in the ERP, because ERP is done with a lot of thinking. The process has been remodified, process has been remodeled, and based on that the ERP has been implemented in companies. Can we look at such intuitive escalations, intuitive reports which tell me that, look, this is what was done, therefore you please correct it there. This was what was done, therefore you please correct it there. You know? And that is something which really gives the manager a lot of what should I say, intuitive information to be able to act much in advance rather than do it in a postmortem way, rather than do it with by trying to analyze what the actual situation was. Because once the particular topic is done, then you can't really trace back to find out who did it, how did it happen. Though you've got user ID, traceability in SAP and ERP, unfortunately in the Indian context, it's very common even today in the industry for people to share the passwords. You have a department password, so you don't know who did what. And that's something which is very, very critical. So this is the next area where I feel some plugin can be done in terms of reporting. We are talking about progress reporting here. That is the checking phase of the performance cycle. Once this phase is over, and we have got the data and everything is available, then we go to the next phase, which is the phase of reviewing and steering, and this is what I'll talk about tomorrow. So with that, thanks a lot for watching. For those of you in India, have a nice evening. For those of you outside India, have a great day ahead, and please come and participate in the free doHow public workshop, which I said on Sunday. Every Sundays I want to do that, 11 to 12:30 it will be. So please do come and participate. And at the bottom you got the link to join, and also in the text below in the video you also have the text defined there. So thanks a lot, and see you tomorrow. With that, let me say goodbye.